Phillip Price, he is running in North Carolina's 11th district against one of the most right-wing people in the country, Mark Meadows, who is chairman of the House Freedom Caucus. Freedom is code word for tax cuts for the rich. In this particular case, Phillip, welcome to Rebel headquarters.
Oh, thanks for having me back, Cenk. How are you doing?
No problem, no problem. Good to have you back, brother. I still remember the woodworking stories. I think my co-host Anna Kasparian would enjoy that because Phil's business is antique reclaimed lumber, and we talked about it last time. And so
we also played a song for you.
That's right, I remember. All right, so first of all, Phillip, I don't know if you know this, but you're in amazing shape, and I'll tell you why. Because President Trump has, quote, guaranteed a victory for Mark Meadows and that he will do, quote unquote, just fine. So knowing Donald Trump's track record, you've almost got this thing locked up.
Yeah, I think so. He's certainly not showing any sign of a campaign effort here in this district. It's baffling. I guess he feels like that the gerrymandered district that he has won in 3 previous races, that he's just going to skate through. And but you know, the courts have ordered that the district maps be redrawn next year, so he knows that even if he does win, which he's not, if he were to win this election, the next time around wouldn't happen for sure. But I think Mr. Meadows has higher aspirations. I think he's already got his head in the clouds for higher office, and he's not even thinking about the fact that we're sneaking up right behind him and we're going to pull the seat right out from under him when the music stops.
So Phillip, we talked to you before the primaries. You won the primaries. Now you're going to the general election, and after you win the primary, you're supposed to get financial support from the Democratic Party, especially against a guy like Mark Meadows, who's literally one of the most right-wing people in all of Congress. So have they given you financial support?
No, we're not getting any support from the state party or the national party. But we've been doing some. Our fundraising has been exceptional, and we've been getting money from people all over the country ever since Meadows started talking about impeaching Rod Rosenstein. We raised about $30,000 or $40,000 in the week after they made that ridiculous move right before the summer break. And we've been getting money from really people all over the country, and I'm getting really nice notes from people who are saying that they've Meadows has crossed the line. Meadows is a threat to our democracy, and we've looked up who's running against him, and we've read about your platform, and we think you're a great guy and you're the guy to beat him, and we support your campaign. And I'm getting numerous letters and donations from people, like I said, all over the country, individuals, as well as people in my district. I'm getting great support from people all across the 16 counties of this vast district of Western North Carolina. It's very encouraging and very, very humbling.
Yeah, so we have a sponsor, downticket.com. The only reason I mention them in this context is because one of their theses is that if you can track the people who you can't stand and give to their opponents, they have a better chance of losing. And boy, you're like a perfect candidate for that. Because yeah, because Mark Meadows, look, I want people to understand, it's not just that he's a right-wing zealot, and it's not just that he is, he's a fraud. He's actually just doing whatever his corporate donors want and the Koch brothers want, et cetera. But to me, the thing you just mentioned, Phillip, is the most important part. When he then tries to help Donald Trump subvert the rule of law, to me, that's a threat to our democracy. And if you're a patriot in North Carolina, then you got to vote against Mark Meadows. Because Republican or Democrat, you can't have people saying, I don't care about the Constitution, I don't care about democracy, I'm going to put party over country.
Right, and if after 9/11 happened and we had an investigation, as we did, into who, why, when, where that happened. If we had a group of congressmen led by somebody like Mark Meadows come forward and say, we need to stop this investigation, we need to shut this down, at the very minimal, it would be obstruction of justice. I mean, I don't want to use the word that I think it would be, but it's ludicrous. What does Mr. Meadows have to hide, and why is he afraid to have this investigation continue to its fruition and find out what the facts are for the American people? It's mind-boggling, to say the least. And all the while that Mr. Meadows has got himself in this, got his head all in that cloud, he's doing nothing for his constituents. He's doing nothing for the people of Western North Carolina. We have people that are hungry and people that need health care, and all he wants to talk about is taking away health care from people, repealing the Affordable Care Act, of which I am a recipient. We have 45,000 families in Western North Carolina who get their health care through the Affordable Care Act. We have 98,000 people in the 11th District who get their health care through Medicaid. And we have a high number of veterans here in Western North Carolina. Mr. Meadows has co-sponsored the Veterans Empowerment Act, which, if it were passed, would do away with the VA within a year of it passing. And I just don't understand it. I support a Medicare for all system. We need everybody covered. We don't need to take people off of health care. We need to get everybody covered. And Mr. Meadows and I just stand on way opposite sides of most of the issues that are at the front of this campaign.
Well, Phillip, one of the reasons we appreciate you, have you back, and perhaps why the DNC does not appreciate you as much, is because you're not switching your positions after the primary. No. And you're sticking with what you got. And this is a historically red district, but good news for you is Medicare for All is now polling 52% with Republican voters, let alone 70% overall in the general population. So I wanted to ask you about your experience about that, because this is where we learn the most. So look, oftentimes people will be relying on the Affordable Care Act or will want health care for their family, but they'll believe the hype that the Republicans are going to somehow do something better than Obamacare when all they have is a plan to destroy it and nothing to replace it. And we'd go back to a system that was even worse. So have people gotten that message yet? Or when you talk to them, you go door knocking and go talk to your constituents, is that not yet clear for them in that district?
It's increasingly becoming clear. Obviously, the people, the Democrats and the independents, the unaffiliateds, it's crystal clear for them, or for most of the unaffiliateds, I would say. The message is becoming clearer and clearer, and we are doing everything we can to get that message to the people in the district. It's such a vast, as I mentioned before, my district is almost 7,000 square miles. It takes me over 4 hours to drive across my district. And since I've spoken to you, I've put many more miles on that truck you just showed. I've got probably 45,000 miles I've put on my vehicle going around to the 16 counties, listening to the people in Western North Carolina. And healthcare is the #1 issue. And it's not just about healthcare. My platform is about bringing better jobs with bigger paychecks to the people of Western North Carolina. And healthcare is just one of the 4 planks that I'm suggesting of how we can do that. That's healthcare, public education, protecting our environment and getting off of fossil fuels and investing in renewable energy, and just infrastructure jobs, especially getting broadband internet to every household that has electricity in every nook and cranny and every holler of Western North Carolina. You'd be surprised how many households in my district don't have access to broadband internet. We're in the 21st century, and it's essential to economic growth and to educational opportunities. You know, our children, they don't even make textbooks anymore. They expect your kids to go home and be able to get online to do their homework and their research. And if you don't have internet access, then your child is being left behind, and that's just not acceptable. I hear story after story of families taking their children, if they're lucky enough to not be working their second or third job, to take their kids to the library, the public library that might have Wi-Fi after hours, and they'll park in the parking lot so their kid can get online and do their homework. And that's just not acceptable. We want job growth. We want opportunities for people to connect to the internet. You know, the internet is knowledge, and knowledge is power. So we need to provide that for the people. But back to the health care, it'll be such a boon to our economy to go to a Medicare for all system. People just don't understand how important it is, and you know, the rest of the industrialized world has some type of universal health care, and it's successful. The narrative of the Republican Party is that it's not good and they're failing, and that's just a lie put out by the for-profit health insurance industry to scare people from backing a single-payer Medicare for all system. Yeah. We just have to continue to break that lie.
So, and Phillip, the part that almost nobody talks about is if you did Medicare for all across the country, your wages would skyrocket because employers then wouldn't have to pay for your health insurance, and and then they could increase your salaries, and that's how the market works. So.
And it benefits the employers also.
Yes.
You know, it takes that burden off of them. And it's not just health care. There's liability insurance and workers' comp insurance. All those things have health care as part of that premium. I'm a small business owner, and I have to purchase a liability policy and a workers' comp policy. And any business that isn't in business, you know, even large corporations, Walmart and Lowe's and all these people who have many employees, they have a huge liability policy and workers' comp policy, and the cost of those premiums would be lowered drastically as we go to a Medicare for all system.
Yeah,
it would help in so many ways.
You might be able to increase your employees' salaries by up to 20%. If we did Medicare for all. Can you imagine a 20% pay raise for everyone in the country?
That's what I'm talking about. Living wages.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So we're out of time, but I want everybody to know the website, although you did do a clever job of putting it in the background too. But Price.
Can you see it?
Yeah, we saw it. Price for WNC.org, as you see there, and obviously the links to donate and to volunteer and to get involved are right there, and they'll also be in the description box or comment section down below in YouTube or Facebook. Phillip Price, as we said last time, the price is right, so go get him.
Thank you, Cenk. I was just asking people to please donate whatever you can to this campaign, because Mark Meadows has to go away. We're going to put Meadows out to pasture.
I like that kind of pun. All right, Phillip, we'll see you next time. Hopefully next time when you're in Congress.
Thank you, brother. Have a good evening.
You too. On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.